Hi, my name's MJ. I'm a trans man. I started my transition almost a decade ago, and I also have a biological son who I had prior to my transition. I know that this is a controversial topic to discuss, but the reality is trans people exist, they're gonna transition, and some of them are parents. I know that sharing my story can help others, so yeah, here we go. So I got pregnant when I was about 22 years old, and I gave birth to my son at 23. I started my medical transition when he was very young. I believe he was 3.5. He doesn't really remember me before. And at first, I honestly didn't really, address it with him because, he was so young and I just felt like I didn't really want to, bother him with it. But also, it was kind of awkward. I didn't know what to say. Well, my son, he's autistic. So ever since he's been little, he always has, a support team behind him, of therapists, case managers, stuff like that. So when it came time when I was like, I have to discuss this with him because, I was going through surgery, I was on hormones, I was obviously looking different every day. I sought out the help of his professional team because I thought this is going to be a huge deal. I need to make sure that I address it in an age appropriate manner. What do I say? What if he reacts adversely? How is he going to handle this? How am I going to handle this? It was just, I had a lot of questions. I also sought out the help of other people who were autistic. There was a group where you could go in and specifically ask autistic people their take on things. So I asked them their advice on how I should approach everything. And literally from everybody all across the board, the advice was just be honest, do not sugarcoat it. And now that my son's older, that was excellent advice, I have to say, because definitely my son, he just likes to be told things directly, he wants it straight. So by this time, I had already, been transitioning for a little bit. My son, he didn't really talk much at the time because he didn't really start to, speak verbally until, 5, and even then, it wasn't, he wasn't, fluently having conversations verbally. He could type and stuff. He had, a device, where he would communicate. He still uses one in school. He'd say a sentence here and there. It would just be awesome because to hear him say a full sentence was just so cool. But one day we were in the car and I took everyone's advice and I just told him, I explained to him that I was a trans man. I explained what it meant and what it would detail in the future. Obviously, I didn't get into gory details, but I just told him, this is what it is. I'm transgender. This is what that means. And his response was, cool, I want pizza. So I was in shock for two reasons, because for one, he just said a sentence, and for two, because his reaction was, cool, whatever, I want some pizza, let's go, you know what I mean? But my son was still young, so honestly, as relieved as I still was but he's still young, maybe he doesn't fully understand, we still don't know what the future holds. I'll never forget, I was actually at my pre-op appointment, before top surgery, and this was at a time where I didn't have as many followers as I had now. I had a decent following, but nowhere near what it is now. And I opened my phone up to a message from somebody that was basically telling me that I was a failure parent, that my son was going to resent me one day because I was making such a selfish decision, and that basically I should not be alive. And when I saw that, obviously that's very harrowing to see, especially when you're sitting in a pre-op waiting room, you know what I mean? When I read it, I never questioned am I a good parent or worth living, because I know both of these things are true. I am a good parent and my life is absolutely worth living. But I did wonder, I just kind of wondered a little, I wonder what it will be like when he's older, though, you know what I mean? Well, I'm here to tell you. It's about 7 years since that day. My son's older now. He has opinions, a lot of them. And my son is so proud of me. And I'm so proud of him. My son, now that he's older, he does understand that I'm trans. He understands what that means. And to him, it's just sort of just a fact. It's just sort of it is what it is, you know what I mean? It's neither good nor bad. It's just a part of who I am. I talk a lot about how I live in a very small town. It's a rural community. It's pretty conservative. And because of this, I was nervous, when I started transitioning and stuff, I was nervous how it would affect my kid and everything. So my answer to that was I decided I was going to get involved in anything I could when it came to my son's education, when it came to the community. I was going to do my best to make my presence known so that it kind of extended an olive branch, you know what I mean? For instance, we used to have a poultry farm, so I would collect the eggs on the farm, I would clean them and everything, and I would donate them to local churches. We had a little pamphlet I made of our family, you could tell we were an alternative family in it, but it was a very nice pamphlet talking about our farm and how, we were happy to donate some of our eggs to them and everything. Some of the churches we donated to were accepting of LGBT people, and some definitely weren't. But the reason that I continue to donate is because, when you make a common ground of like, hey, we're just everyday people, like we're farmers, like we keep to ourselves, but like we're good people in the community, you know what I mean? People remember that, and they did, and the community has been so great with my son. The teachers, the parents, the students, everyone is fantastic. The first few years my son was in school, I immediately joined the PTA. My son, I get him involved in like extracurriculars, like, his tech club, his band, stuff like that. We always show up, we're always present, and people know us. And I think my video, well, I don't think, I know my videos have helped a lot too, because I've had people reach out to me. Obviously, I'm not saying if you live in an area where like it might not be safe, like, to put yourself out there with no, concern at all. But I do believe that making your presence known as like, okay, yeah, I'm trans, but I'm also a parent. I'm also like an everyday person, I'm just trying to survive just like you. I think that resonates with people. So like I said, my son's older now. And also, as I said, our local community has been so wonderful with him. But like he is older, so like kids, they're kids, like they can be mean sometimes. One day I was curious. People had always like told me, during my transition, your kid's gonna get so made fun of. Why give him something to get made fun of for, stuff like that. So one day I just straight up asked him, I'm like, hey, do you ever get made fun of because I'm trans? And he was like, yes. And I was like, oh, would you rather like if I kind of like took a step back and just was quiet and didn't like post things online? And he said, no, I think you should make a Discord. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of anticlimactic in a good way. For years I was kind of set up for thinking that, that my son would be so horrifically affected by my transition, And, I'm not even saying that my son and I will always have a perfect relationship, because that's unrealistic. Like, who knows? I don't know, what the future holds. But I can almost promise you, if he ever resents me for anything, it's not going to be because I'm trans. Like, one time he resented me a little bit because I didn't let him listen to Ghostface Killah on repeat. Now he's a little resentful. I won't let him watch Sausage Party or Silence of the Lambs. Being a parent, it's not perfect. I'm not always perfect, but I've done a good job. And he sees that and he appreciates that, and I appreciate him. And me being trans just has not been as big of a deal in our parent-son relationship as anyone, including me, made it out to be.